2016 also feels like one. As I was mentioning, the Aurelion Sol is a really interesting one to me because both these players fly famously in the past. Kuro bringing it out this season, 4-0 across them, 2-0 each on the Aurelion Sol. Both of them have had Pocket Aurelion Sol bans sent against them. So, speaking of pocket picks, Rumble will be banned away from Marin. If we do see him return to the Maokai, which Afreeca are unique in drafting either Maokai or Rumble very commonly in the first round of picks and not waiting to the second round after the bans, well, we see the return of that Olaf, which, like you said, was one of the champions they piloted to take down SKT in Game 1 of that series.
Seems like it's a pretty big possibility. Rai is going to be the third and final ban away by Longzhu, keeping that out of the hands of Kuro. The Varus has been banned by Afreeca. We've talked about this quite heavily recently, but Varus having higher priority on the ban list as opposed to the Rengar. But Rengar over to Crash seems like something he'd be happy to get his hands on.
Imagine he'll lock it in. He's looked very good on the Rengar. Some people are playing it because of the perceived strength of the champion, but I think that Crash was practiced on it from the start. LeBlanc is the forced ban, so because they went for the Varus. It feels like Rengar very often is unselling Varus. There were times when both of them were available, and Varus was drafted over the Rengar, and this is just the perceived strength on what is probably the last OGN day for 7.2, almost assuredly, because we don't have another match day, you and I, for another 2 weeks or so.
That's very true, unless IEM delays that somehow, but we're likely going to be seeing the 7.3 come through. So that'll be very interesting to see how that's going to shake things up.
This is the Afreeca Freecs standard. They are happy to blind draft top lane in the first round. They do not leave a counter pick, so frequently teams are picking either Corki or Maokai, first pick of the second round, to have a safe, blind, pickable top laner after there is some bans towards those roles. Instead, Marin, famous for having champion mastery over a few picks and certainly some off-meta picks, sticks with the Maokai. Question's already shown a single answer. We'll see if he has another one ready, or if it's just the return of the Olaf. Olaf's now a must-ban against both these teams in some ways. If Spirit starts playing it again, if Expression and Crash can start to flex it in the future. It's funny how we see kind of the two big Olaf teams on the Rift against each other as well.
Yeah, I mean, Olaf from Spirit, not something that we've seen for a little bit of time, beginning of the month. He had brought it out against Rock's Tigers in that first game, which they did lose. But Ashe Zyra for the bottom lane for Brain Gorilla, something that they'll be very well practiced on. The Misfortune is available, so they take that. So no jungler yet for Afreeca Freecs. This could open up Longzhu to ban away the Graves, which is something that Spirit has looked best on outside of the Olaf.
And again, we're waiting for the Aurelion Sol, because these two teams have Aurelion Sol players. No mid laners are picked either. Speaking of mid lane champions, this champion to complement the Olaf was the mid lane Echo that Fly was playing. He and Mickey have been favoring that pick when available. They don't want a split push war to open up. That does actually enter Syndra into the consideration for first pick on red side. When you see something like the Echo banned away, a soft counter, or at least a manageable lane into the Syndra. Syndra has frequently been a ban in the second round. So yeah, it might just be four mid laners here, really putting the stops on some of the options. May just end up being Syndra versus Corki, unless one of those picks is banned away. Aurelion Sol, though, a good answer to Syndra. You'll remember back from the end of the 2016 season.
Shen gets banned away, so seeing that Expression might want to bring that one out, but again, the Olaf is something very possible for him.
And you move back again. Echo's still a flex pick for Longzhu. Kha'Zix's the final ban, so that was the most powerful jungler on the board. Maybe we'll see Spirit bring back Classic, given that his Graves performances in the last series against BBQ weren't that impressive. And speaking of Classics, will be the Olaf, which is a denial pick away from Expression. When you have these pocket picks, it's fun to see those extra layers of drafting strategy. Echo being a flex pick, Olaf being a flex pick. They already had Rengar.
Oh!
Lock in on Talon, okay.
All right, blind pick. Lock in on Talon for Fly in the mid lane. We've been wondering when we were going to see this. Pawn has teased us time and time again. But now Crow's like, I just want to play my Corki.
Oh, Kuro. 80 Assassins mid were the sort of things that always gave Kuro the most headaches, specifically on his Izia struggle days back in 2015. It's not quite the Master Yi, but it feels like that kind of pick, given that we just haven't seen Talon this season at all. And it's going to be a skill matchup. Talon versus Jace in the mid lane.
Oh, dear.
We got a fun one here. It's getting spicy, Achilleos.
All right, we knew this was going to be a good day just because we have these two teams on the Rift versus each other. But now the pick's really supporting that. I mean, everything else fairly standard, but Talon versus Jace mid lane.
And you know very well that you know, one of the people I talk to the most is Gorilla on the side of Longzhu's English is renowned, and he's a very affable guy. I always ask him, what about the talent? He's like, well, Fly really wants to play it, but Song won't let him play it, the coach of Longzhu. Well, he got a chance to play it blind, so maybe he wasn't listening, or maybe he got exactly the direction he needed.
Might have been a hefty bribe right there.
Bit of column A, bit of column B.
Oh, dear. All right. Well,
are you ready for some parkour?
I'm ready for all the parkour. I was getting stomped last night by a parkouring Talon, so I'm excited to see.
Were you in the
somebody else?
Were you in the bot lane, Achilles? Because Talon loves the bot lane when he visits.
Oh, it was just wonderful. Yeah, I was playing a Caitlyn. There's no getting away from that.
Nope. And we'll see how much getting in the way there is for the Afreeca bot lane, who we've already said are who we really have our eyes on. Kramer and Tucson have had wavering levels of performance, so skill matchup between AD, lethality stackers in the mid lane, and then it's going to be really attempts for safety, because between the Ash Arrow and the speed at which you can roam on the Talon, it might actually be another struggling duo lane for Afreeca, who will have to call in reinforcements if they're to get through this laning phase.
Yeah. Fly, of course, also going really aggressive, has the Ignite ready to go, so he's out for blood. Both of these teams looking to pick up a win. Let's go ahead, dive onto the rip for Game 1, Longzhu versus Afreeca Freecs. All right, well, here we go. Fans have shown up today to cheer on their favorite team, so pretty even showing for both sides.
Predictably, the Thunderlords is the mastery or keystone here for Talon. Jace will be going for Storm Raider Surge. Not the Ghost Flash Jace that Faker had so much command of Game 3 against Longzhu in that earlier series this week. We'll be going for the Exhaust. Need that Exhaust against Talon, and guess what? Talon's got Ignite, so happy times for people looking for solo kills in the mid lane.
This is a bit of a ballsy pick, you have to say, by Kuro, as you put it, very heavy in the skill matchup.
It is the Kuro we know, though. Like, even against Faker, he would opt into the skill matchups, consistently struggle in them, sometimes get through them. Had a wonderful series against Faker in that Afreeca win against SKT. But this is a really fun one. It's cool to see Talon back in the meta. You know, when he was first released, people thought, okay, he's overtuned, we're definitely going to see him, but he's been outshadowed. The thing you can say about Talon is that even though a lot of his skills have changed in functionality, the way you remember him from the last time he was in the meta, back in the Black Cleaver stacking days, still feast or famine. If Talon gets ahead, he is oppressive. He's even better at roaming. Still probably get Moby Boots and roam, but the parkour makes him faster. But if he gets behind, he struggles to do relevant damage. So it's really big on Fly to have that early impact and just get the snowball. And we also have to keep a track on Crash then, because honestly, both the Rengar and the Talon should be razor focused on getting the snowball started in mid lane.
Yeah, and snowball is something that Longzhu kind of need here, because they are very reliant on 80 damage at the moment. Gorilla, I mean, we've seen how much AP damage Zyra can do throughout the duration of a game, but armor, definitely going to be Afreeca's best friend.
Yeah. Reminder that we are on patch 7.2. We're not on 7.3 yet. I was watching EU LCS, and you see Malzahar and Zyra falling out because they were both target nerfed, but on 7.2, Zyra's laning still as powerful as ever. So as you say, should be able to get into a position to do significant magic damage. Crash going for the invades. This red buff into blue, and the Raptors as well.
All right, just going to start off with the Krug. Spirit now roaming over for the red.
And this, to me, seems like a pre-prepared invade for Crash. He seems to have perfect knowledge of the path that was going to be taken. So it will be unseen when it comes to this steal onto the Krug camp. Spirit sees it now. He can't know for sure exactly when it was taken. He'll suspect that it was recently. Not spotted out, but okay under turret, so no potential gank coming through.
Yeah, he pings out some warnings. He'll go ahead and get that scrying plant. Will just barely miss Crash, though, so still can't quite spot the Lion.
Again, because it's still a new thing, I'll comment on the itemization choices for AD carries. Kramer has gone the boots on Jhin. It seems like boots on Jhin in particular is becoming favored. Maha takes the boots on every champion, but it seems otherwise mostly a Jhin-only thing. It's not necessarily because of starting 15 AD. Even if they take full armor pen, Jins will take the boots first. Part of it's being able to dodge Zyra skill shots. That's a relevant thing. But mostly it's just that you lose the push war against any of the other meta AD carries. In general, it's about sustaining till you get Serrated Dirk on your first purchases. So having the extra potion, if that's enough to allow you to get the preferable push and get a good back timing, or even just to survive lane is enough. And speaking of surviving lane,
really rough spot here for Gorilla. Flashes away, still takes a lot of damage. One more hit. There we go. It's going to come up from Tucson with the first blood. Crash now diving in, fighting off more than he can chew. Spirit is hot on his heels. He'll cleanse off that slow. Get a little bit of health back, but first blood goes over to Afreeca. Really
disrespectful from Crash to jump in as late as he did. At the end of the day, Grua's caught. That's standard, but diving in 1v3 against an Olaf, the strongest skirmishing jungler in the early game if he has mana. Has to use his flash as well now. Is a bit more precarious in his own jungle. They can get pressure, something Misfortune can do. An invade onto a no-flash Rengar could be more kills here for Spirit.
Yeah. And it was a really big summoner spell investment as well. Longzhu losing 5. Both from the bot lane duo. The flash away from Crash, and really just the, the ghost, exhaust, heal, and flash from Afreeca Freecs. So overall, big profit for them, in addition to that first blood coming through. So that'll help them out considerably. We'll see how Prey and Gorilla can try to sway this bot lane back into their favor.
Yeah, Jace has more options in the laning phase for sure as a ranged champion, so should be pretty comfortable pre-6. I will be looking for assistance from the jungler to actually cement a nice early lead into Snowball. And then it'll probably still be the same split pushing playstyle. So we saw the Lich Bane AP Echo. You don't have teleport, you don't run it on the Talon, but to some degree you don't need it with just how strong parkour is in terms of map movements. So still expect to see him in a side lane, but for that, kind of needs to be ahead. He's probably going to be against a Maokai who will very naturally itemize into armor and not be able to be taken down by the Talon. So it's all about timings here as Crash again invades, this time without flash, remember.
Yeah, now Marin's coming in, jumps on him with a Twisted Advance. Expression is here to back him up.
It's also,
damage traded
you
back.
also know it's 7.2 because it's not that interested in CC. The 1.5 seconds immunity to future crowd control is still a thing in 7.2. So able to get away from Twisted Advance is the Rengar.
Doesn't get locked up for too long, but still Crash playing very greedy, wants to go in and just has to back out. Takes a little bit of damage, but overall his pathing won't get interrupted too much by the arrival of Spirit. See Gorilla and Prey having a bit of a rough time. It's that constant harass coming up from Tucson.
Yeah, Gorilla actually has 5 before Prey, so that means that Prey is pretty significantly behind in experience compared to Kramer. Prey wants to open up with the Ash Arrow, preferably with reinforcements from Rengar and Talon, and for now, that seems to be pretty significantly delayed. Power Slam, says Korean Jace.
Power Slam.
Who will be the new Korean sniper now that the old Korean sniper's in the LPL?
Good question.
Might be Faker. He actually looked really good with the Ghost Flash Jace the other day. Plenty of other people looking to argue their case.
A lot of our Korean snipers moved around. We had Arrow on Jhin, was pretty good. Now over in North America.
Looking pretty good on Jhin again today, actually.
Yeah.
I was watching that game this morning. Right, Longzhu trying to contest. Remember, they still don't have flashes on 3 of the 4 people that be invading on this side.
This is such a risky move here. Big Shock Blast comes through. Crash heals up a bit of that.
Kramer's still level 5 awkwardly.
It's Smite on both sides. Just gets taken away by Spirit.
Oh, they want this, though.
That's going to be the Ghost Gift. Getting popped by the Olaf. Charges forward. Has a Ragnarok fly. Goes in over the wall. He will get rooted by the Deadly Flourish. That could set him up to take some more damage. He's going to go ahead and pop the Shadow Assault, but just has to die back. Gorilla goes low. The grenade
gets Spirit on the back end.
Almost taking him out, but yeah, that's going to be Spirit going down. So really forward push there by Longzhu. Looked extremely risky, but able to take him out in the end.
Yeah, it works out. I couldn't really tell the damage because it was off screen. Ignite was ticking, probably bleed stacks as well. Enough to take down Spirit. Remember, when Spirit ults, he loses the passive armor and magic resistance. That much squishier to already at the time a Serrated Dirk. No doubt armor penetration or lethality runes Talon. So important to get Talon rolling, and even in an invade that looked ill-advised from Longzhu, Talon gets started.
Yep, able to come out on top. Still needs to soak up a lot of CS to catch back up to Kuro where he can. That wave will help him out a significant bit. Prey getting caught up in the pull time. You can see just chunking him down.
If the rooted hit there, it would have been more ticks of the bullet time. Might have been enough to force a flash at least.
Yeah, more than likely would have been, because Curtain Call also available by Kramer, so could have seen that opened up. So has to play more cautiously when Gorilla's not in the lane with him, but even then we've seen how much harassment both of them are taking, so. Rough times for Prey and Gorilla for their HP bars, not so much for the CS where they've been able to stay ahead.
Other selection options for this Talon are pretty good, Achilles. Sure, the Maokai split push is going to be frustrating, but pushing that lane and parkour around, and suddenly, even Olaf probably isn't going to have armor until that early. Righteous Glory is what we always see Spirit go for. Cinder Hulk as well, armor will come later. We're going to see the Reaper, and this time we will actually see what the burst range was. So because the Deadly Flourish hits, Spirit walks up, and he dies. It's a surprising amount of damage, honestly, at the end of the day. Looked like he had a dot on him, and also it was just the bleed and ignite. But that's enough to take down 200 health on the back end after the Talon had already disengaged. Pick up that all-important kill for Fly.
Yep. And the bleeds in this game have always been really hard to gauge just how much damage you're going to take. Darius especially, since his rework is a very difficult one to try to figure out. Drogo's in for a big trade on the Fly. Drops the exhaust. Crash is running in, won't be able to get in range in time. So they'll just trade back and forth.
Is the Rake Max still from the Talon, as you'd expect, W and Q. Only a single point needed in the parkouring. Wall jumping, if you're unfamiliar with that term. It's cool to see matchups like this. After it became clear early that Talon was going to be an edge and meta pick, I was sad that we wouldn't see him as another engager. The gap closer on Q is so deceptive, as is the bleed, like you said, Achilles.
Yeah, again, just getting steadily ticked down.
Speaking of getting ticked, and I'm going to talk about getting ticked off here for Kuro. Remember that a lot of those deaths were in the, well, this champion's never played, and him just misjudging Master Yi, these other corner of the meta picks. It felt like Kuro, when he's in an established matchup, as he was back in his Victor-only days, he knew exactly how to play every Victor matchup because he had a lot of experience on it. Only Jace game so far this season was a really poor one from Kuro, and you just don't see a lot of Talon in solo queue. A little bit more recently, obviously, but still one of the lower-picked lethality abusers. His Ghostblade already complete, so item advantage for Fly because of that early kill.
Yep, that is going to set up Kuro for a World of Pain. Throws out a ward, though, does spot out Crash, so they'll save him a little bit now.
A lot of Afreeca's game plan is about warding, specifically control wards, and playing safe. They have a big range advantage on Longzhu. Longzhu going to have 3 people diving in, then kind of Ashe and Zyra on the back end trying to peel for the Ashe in particular. Fiercely melee team in the solo lanes and jungle. Means that map movements are going to be a lot safer for them, and if they ever fall behind, if a Baron's ever picked up by Afreeca, Longzhu just have very few tools for wave clear. Will get heavily poked down by Jace and the Jhin opening up.
Yeah, I mean, Prey just would not be in a position to go forward and try to hurricane down the waves.
But I think this is right. You've gone for Talon. You're all in on the early game. You're all in on Snowball. Don't try and have a team comp that's like good wave clear plus Talon. You need divers with a Talon. So either win gloriously or frustrated by 25 minutes. So far, we can't tell which way that one's going.
Yeah, still very even. Crash getting spotted. Spirit and Tucson waiting in the wings. They will get spotted by this control ward. And the bottom brush, as well as Marin getting spotted by the top. So Fly just going to rotate down into the jungle. Keep himself safe. Gorilla and Prey, they're coming up the lane. They're going to try to open this one up. Spirit, he's going to get caught and cleanse it off immediately with a Ragnarok, but it doesn't even matter. He just gets bursted down. Kill credit goes over to Crash.
They're just not respecting the burst damage. Olaf so usually is able to twitch and get out of anything. But losing the resist, both Rengar and Talon looking for kills. No kill credit to Talon, but certainly over to the Rengar. Getting him going is ideal.
Crash goes low, bull time opened up. He's going to die, and the Dragon is still picked up by the Rengar in the end. Gorilla getting hit by multiple shots from that Curtain Call is going to set up for a twisted advance from Mar, and they lock him down. One more shot from Kramer ought to take him out. right? Flashing the wall, trying to get himself out to safety. There we go. Deadly Flourish not going to connect, but they can just go ahead, flash forward for this one. But still, Afreeca, they have to invest so much just to come up with these kills in the bottom lane. They will get the double. Marin takes the second one. But the Dragon still goes over to Longzhu.
Yeah, no worries there. They could take their time because Marin can always instantly drop turret aggro with the Twisted Advance with a minion wave near. Not going to answer with a turret in top. There will be a turret taken in bottom, so getting multiple objectives here, Afreeca. Good dive timing. Somehow didn't get the Drake. I assume that would also die to bullet time, but I guess just perhaps the jungle item passive onto the Dragon was enough to take it down. I have to see a replay to confirm that.
We'll get one now.
I mean, Crash just gets killed by basically the bullet time. One shot also from the curtain call. And working out how he got it must have, again, be because there is that damage over time from auto attacks. I was actually lucky that they even got an Ocean Drake.
Yeah, that is such a bizarre occurrence. The dice kind of rolled properly there for Longzhu to come up with that one. But Afreeca, after getting that first tower gold coming through, definitely profiting from their investment. Because even just getting the kills on the Praying Gorilla, they had to dump quite a bit in. But they will be pretty happy with the exchange. Now stretching a bit of a lead, where before it was just 300 gold separating these guys, 1.4k in their favor. And, you know, that's just going to be really good for them to try to stop the ball from rolling. Crash taking a lot of harass. He'll have to peel back.
Top lane's not so exciting. OGM server, please. They don't even have teleports.
As per usual. We have a GP, a Rumble, an Olaf or Camille, then we don't really need to be looking at the top lane.
Talon's now level 11. Big spike for the Talon getting a second point in that ultimate.
But where do you go now if you're Longzhu? Try to regain some ground in this game. They've fallen behind quite a bit after that Dragon play.
I mean, kind of the issue for them is that long lanes are where Talon is happiest to be able to parkour around and look for, say, a gank onto one of his members, but they have no turrets of their own. So the fact they couldn't turret trade makes this map more narrow than the Talon would appreciate. Wants to be able to pick up stragglers, but for now, in short lanes, it is pretty difficult for Fly to do anything other than wave clear. Fishing for a bug. They hit an Ash Arrow. Talon can burst at least 70% of this Jace's HP. Exhaust will reduce that number, but you get what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, Kuro still had the flash available. Seemed like too risky of an investment here for Longzhu. They'd have to dump out a lot just to come up with a kill on the Jace, and even then would not have an assured take on that mid-tier 1 turret, so they decide to go ahead and just peel back, get their recalls in, and they will finally be sending Fly into that bottom lane, as you said, where he will be happiest, because he can just jump around over all the walls.
Yeah, super fast wave clear as well. He doesn't want to be pushing in the lane with the Maokai, even though Maokai has no armor whatsoever. So, honestly, this is the one time maybe he'd accept Maokai.
Uh-oh, Gorilla in a bad spot. Here comes Spirit, just dashes his way in. Turn call gets interrupted on the back end, but it's too little too late.
They want Marin.
Marin's already dead. They're going to be looking for Marin. Yes, he goes low, does not have the flash available. Dredgeline connects. He's going to go down. It's a matter of who gets the kill. Will be Crash in the end. So they take him down. They're able to answer a kill on the top side of the map, but now mid-tier 1 in a spot of bother. Especially will use the TP to come down here, try to wave clear out as best as he can.
He's not much of a help in taking turrets, so Crash will probably back away just for safety. They don't get an objective there, so again, the fact that they can't take an outer turret remains an important concern for Longzhu. You will see Crash, and you can see it here. Was going to predict it, but now we have the confirmation. He goes offensive builds on the Rengar when he plays it. He's happy to get Youmu's. We sometimes see only Warrior Enchant as an offensive item, but he's already got 2 unique kills, so he has 2 stacks of the Bone Tooth Necklace already. He does like to build a bit of AD to be a threat on his own.
Yeah, wants to be able to... I mean, he could threaten multiple members on the side of Afreeca. Kuro, Kramer, and Tucson, all quite squishy. So if he can get a rotation off with this aggressive build, he will certainly kill them.
And given that he's going to be diving anyway, Rengar can only play in melee range in team fights. Even if he's building tank, he's looking for the CC and some damage in short range. If he builds enough damage that he's drawing an exhaust, that's one of the 2 down. And then suddenly Talon has more free target selection.
Yeah, sure.
Kuro's feeling it here. Doesn't have any backup, but when you pop Youmu's like that, it's enough to scare you back, as you say.
Well, Fly still has his own. Holding on to that, just going to chug up on some of those potions to get himself healthy again. We can see the recall will be coming through, and Kuro starting to inch forward in CS. Looks like the Phage will be coming out for Fly, so.
I know it's early on a Saturday, but don't show us slaying, please, OGN Observer. Not interested. Nothing's happened. Nothing at all. The big anchor man and the cosplaying tree aren't interesting. There's a lot of playmaking in mid. Both Gorilla and Prey have good catch potential. Crash not as well. They're only trading farm here between the Talon and Jace, which the Talon's hitting good item time is not enough to open up the sort of snowball that is dictated by Talon coming in.
You don't know if Maokai is cosplaying. He might just think that he's actually a cat.
It's true. He could just have that going on. To me, it's cosplay. He's somehow throwing cats, so he's a crazy cat man at worst.
It's like Maureen Ponderosa from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. I don't think you get that one, but you should. Good show.
It's in a few episodes.
That's certainly one of the later season references. But now, Mountain Drake started up here by Afreeca, whittling away at this one. Gorilla gets rooted in the back by that deadly flourish.
Longzhu can't commit as hard as they want to because they don't have the Rengar ultimate. That's
Fly's
Ash Arrow.
The pinch in the back. Kuro does get locked up in the Ash Arrow, but he still can't go in. There's too many members of Afreeca there. And Longzhu just can't collapse inward in time to keep the Talon safe.
Yeah, Fly also doesn't have target selection, or safe target selection, as you were mentioning, so everyone backs away. Drake is disengaged from it, but this is not a disengaged move.
Curtain Call comes out, Expression going to be body blocking these shots. Still will take a considerable amount of damage. He goes low. He'll have to recall. Doesn't have a TP to rejoin the fight if Afreeca decides to turn right back onto the Dragon. But with Fly pressuring in onto this Tier 1 turret, looks like Afreeca, they're just going to go ahead and defend their structures for now.
But that last fight shows you what it's like when Longzhu don't have the ultimate on Crash. They need Crash to have the same threat, so that there's the one mind game of, wait, where's the Rengar? And the other mind game of, hey, where's the Talon? If both of them can't be backline threats purely with ultimates and mobility, then Afreeca are much stronger. In a long lane, if they fight 5v5 ARAM style, Afreeca are stronger. And if they set up right with vision, Afreeca should be stronger.
Looking to flex that right now. Crash getting locked up. Spirit goes forward, has the Ragnarok down. Singlethorns comes up, pops up Marin. Still just getting whittled away at by this Ashe very steadily, but a big shield comes through to keep him safe. Bullet time forces the heal out.
Double exhaust down.
Stretch line down. They find two, so they take him out. That's going to be Crash diving back in over the wall. Takes a big burst of damage from the shock blast, but he's still able to make it out with his life as Marin falls. Jumping back in, comes up with a kill onto Kuro. 4 down. Longzhu coming up with a fight. It was looking really rough for them, but they're able to inch out ahead of Afreeca, explode with 4 kills, and they're going to go for the Baron. They say, Mountain Drake be damned, we want the bigger prize.
Now we said woulda, shoulda, coulda. Afreeca should have had the tools, but they overlapped exhausts onto Talon, both used, and then the re-engage. They didn't fully disengage. They ended up funneling back into AoE. Prey putting out the slows was enough to continue the fight going, and nothing for Olaf to do. Doesn't have flash, can't just walk in, no ult. Will be Baron over to Longzhu. They finally found what they were looking for, and just not in the manner that I expected.
Yeah, definitely not. That looked like that was certainly Afreeca's fight to be won. We'll take another look at it here.
So this fight is actually purely interesting in the 3-man unit. Tucson, Kramer, and in the backline. First exhaust comes down, Fly out of the fight, dives back in. Second exhaust is down. Rengar hasn't committed. Because Longzhu didn't have to commit anything, and Fly got both exhausts down, the moment that Afreeca turned, they are done for. No tanky frontline left. Maokai was dying. And they flash in. They get greedy for Fly. That's just a mistake from specifically Kuro, but Kramer as well. They should have the advantage in a long lane. That kind of represented a long lane because they had a way out. But they meandered. They were going in. They were going out. They didn't have a clear call. Afreeca shot calling lets them down in a way that Longzhu profit just the most they could hope for.
Yep, for sure. Now you can see the structure is going to begin to fall. Tier 1 turret in the top side.
And now it's a Talon with Baron buff.
Yep, first one to go down. And now, yep, Fly has so much pushing power, so much threat onto Kuro, who does not have an exhaust or a flash. Fly, without the ignite, but still has plenty of damage. He'll be able to take out this turret.
Yeah, even has Rengar backing him up. Good pathing from Crash. There's nothing in his jungle, as you can see. On the bottom side, so smart just to back up his split pushing bottom lane. He'll keep going. Doesn't have safe vision to do so, but they can see all of Afreeca setting up, trying to hopefully keep this outer mid lane turret up.
Yeah, just a couple more shots, but the wave's not there yet. Might have to wait for the next one to crash. Prey's going to go down, help assist in this Mountain Drake take. There we go. And an Infernal to come up next, so things looking up for Longzhu as they net themselves their second dragon of the game.
Afreeca have to seed everything when double exhaust is down. There's so many diving threats, or such a high level of diving threat between the Rengar building AD and the Talon building AD that double exhaust is not enough. A little bit of armor on their members still isn't enough. The window is still open for Longzhu to take free objectives, and with Baron buff, it is the widest open window you could ask for. Could fit a couple of people in, 5 it turns out.
And that is a massive swing back into the favor of Longzhu, but behind by about 2,000 gold at the start of that fight, or something in that realm now. Up quite considerably, 7K
4 turrets
on the horizon.
4 turrets, 4 kills, and as you say, a massive investment in gold. Everyone the profit on the side of Longzhu. Again, I love that they committed to this Longzhu. They have Rengar, he's still going to go full AD to try and draw exhaust, to try and be a threat of his own. You waste everything on one assassin, it's there. If you lose the team fight we saw, you kind of probably lose the game. There's so many more options for Afreeca to play defensively, wait for Maokai and Olaf to hit 2-3 armor items, and then just kind of out-sustain fights against Longzhu. But Longzhu have the trust, they have the recent results, they're in form.
Oh, maybe not the target they were looking for. Crash goes in onto Tucson, exhaust comes out. Tucson will stay safe for now. Marin getting jumped on, still very tanky on the Maokai, so only gets whittled down to about half HP. Longzhu, they want to push forward, trying to whittle away at this turret, but without a wave, they're just going to have to buy more time for themselves.
Just continue in team fights to keep your eyes trained on Kuro, Kramer, and Tucson. They have no armor, they are very squishy. Ninja Tabi doesn't count, sorry Kuro. They need to be on point with the exhaust, and one was actually used in that fight onto the Rengar who dived in, so relative safety of flying a team fight goes up.
So now you have to choose, you're going to, use it on Fly, you're going to use it on Crash.
I mean, you choose Talon, but you don't always get the free choice, right? It's not usually like, oh, which one?
Oh, Lauren recalling here, but Fly he wants to get onto Spirit, try to pop that GA. You can see just how much damage he does, even to that Olaf with the Guardian
Deep
Angel.
Maokai teleport.
Lauren, yeah, coming in way from behind. Big Shock Blast connects on the Crash and Prey.
Safety here for Kramer.
Down Expression.
And interrupted by the Zyra ultimate.
Really nicely done by Gorilla. Does interrupt the curtain call. Meanwhile, Fly, he's just going to be splitting in mid. Spirit comes to answer. Tucson will roam over. Shock Blast takes out the majority of the wave, but the damage is quite significantly done.
Didn't even see the cast of the Zyra ultimate was over the wall. And worked out really, really well. Fly has plenty of walls to jump over.
Yep, good reaction there by Gorilla. Prey, though, going low. Marin coming in. Jumps on to Crash. Down to half HP. Let's make it rain.
Nobody's on Tucson and Kramer and Kuro, so they're free hitting, but so are Longzhu free hitting onto Marin. Everyone backs away. Stand still this time.
That's the flash down from Marin. So Longzhu probably going to be decently happy with that. They'll take away this blue buff likely, just get the waves pushing back towards the base, recall, and spend this gold that they've picked up, because you have to expect Edge of the Night likely going to be there for Fly.
And just not enough time for the armor item pickups to come in for Afreeca. If I was Marin, I don't know if I invest into a Spirit Visage complete. It was his first item.
Top of the Spectre's Cowl.
It was Merc Treads and a completed Spirit Visage, and as you say, yeah, Spectre's Cowl, Merc Treads. I think that's enough. You need to be just the most durable front line. It could have been working on the Frozen Heart and close to a Randuin's at this point, or even a Dead Man's Way. Probably the Randuin's, given the game, but he's tanky. I mean, it does take a long time to take him down, but he needs to be obscenely tanky to be able to zone one of these diving threats from Longzhu for as long as possible. Yeah, Spirit was kind of hamstrung once he'd gone for the Olaf. This was always going to be the way things went. So while we trained on, in the draft, blind pick Talon, which objectively it was at the end of the day.
Yeah, it was.
It wasn't blind pick in terms of how the team fights would go because of what was already selected. It was already Olaf, Jhin, and Misfortune. All of them decent targets. Mostly the Jhin and Misfortune, but Olaf a decent target as well. So in terms of what his role was in team fights, there weren't really picks that could answer it. Okay, Orianna would have provided some shielding, but if you're hitting your power spikes, Orianna's not going to have Death Cap, a second needless large rod item, and have obscenely large shields. The game plan's still the same. Jace, they went for the skill matchup. It went decently, but now it's starting to get away with a big CS advantage. So I don't think a mid lane pick changes how this game goes, despite it being, as you say, on paper, blind pick Talon.
Well, they want Marin yet again. Lock him down. Dredgeline comes through. They'll root him up, and There's just nothing he can do without a flash. Prey picks up the kill, and like you said, just not obscenely tanky yet is Marin. So Prey, even without that Infinity Edge, which you can see he's going to be building up next, is still able to take down that tree with adequate CC. Now,
that rhymed. That could be a Dr. Seuss tale. Take down that tree with adequate CC. Well, that's the second turret. That's just the first inhibitor turret, but Fly working on the other one. They have to give up the bottom inhibitor turret. Soon going to be a rotation over to mid. Freecs don't have the items, so they can't really contest. They can't really push up. They don't have their captain or top laner, as Marin is dead. So Longzhu get another free set of objectives, Achilles.
I mean, that just frees up Marin to really take in the grand scope of things on the map, and he can really coordinate his team, right?
Well, again, this man was definitely the brains trust that brought down SKT, but Longzhu are the ones that, you know, fortune favored the bold. They went for the Talon in a situation that no other team really around the world is experimenting with Talon. He was kind of seen as pretty much the same power level, if weaker than before, even though right on release people were like, this is the champion. Talon's definitely the strongest. People very quickly moved on to other lethality abusers, like, for example, the Jace that Kuro has taken. But if you build a comp around it, they just snowboard so smartly, and team fought, because it wasn't just Talon obscenely fed. It was more about choosing your engagements, which is so precise. When you choose the wrong one, there's an extra Warden's Mail on a couple of heroes, and then you don't have engagements anymore.
Yeah, that fight around Dragon is really what sealed the deal here for Longzhu. I mean, still not out of the woods. There's an outside chance that Afreeca could find a key fight for them and swing back into this game a bit more, but for right now, they're just steadily bleeding out on resources and their base structures. Creeps pushing in towards that bottom side of the map. Baron now spawned. Somebody's going to have to answer that wave eventually, so Longzhu could just try to drag this out as long as possible.
Very spotted here is Crash, has to ult.
Yep, does ult, so it's a good takeaway there for Afreeca. But now Baron being started, Expression plenty tanky to go ahead and sit in there. To clear out the vision, Afreeca just can't really walk up. You can see Marn has to go back, clear out the waves that are about to be knocking down those Nexus turrets. So Longzhu come up with yet another Baron.
Yeah, and with the Baron, just like we said, Longzhu were kind of up against the wall if they were facing a Baron with the Baron, having Talon on the side lane. Not many answers to that. Gonna be able to push in. The F-Sword in the inventory for Fly. You might think, okay, just gonna be the Edge of Night. Not the Edge of Night, sorry, the Duskblade. Built out of that one. And it still could be, but Infinity Edge has always been a consideration on the Talon. He has a crit modifier on his Q, the Noxian Diplomacy, so can just have massive burst damage if you get IE.
See if he even gets a chance to finish that item, so we might not ever find out.
Well, Fly and Rengar are in the top lane, so goodbye turret.
Yep, they knock that down very quickly. Afreeca just too late to rotate. We'll be able to defend that in hit, but now they're just going to lose the mid turret instead. Super Grapes still on top of that Nexus. So they're just being spread way too thin. Afreeca can't find any ins. Martin flashing for it, immediately gets rooted, has to twist advance on top of Expression. Now just sitting in the front line, taking all of this damage from Prey. Just firing off steadily. Yuuzhan flashing out. Does get himself out to safety, but Martin goes down as Fly picks up the kill. They'll get the GA pop onto Spirit. First Nexus turn will fall, as well as that third and final inhibitor. And Longzhu here, under 33 minutes, look at it close out the game. Prey flashing forward, going on the aggressive. Dredgeline connects onto Kramer, but they're just stuck inside the fountain, completely relegated to watch their base lose. Strangle Thorns won't connect, but that will be the Nexus going down. Longzhu, bit of a rocky start. Turn things around at that Mountain Drake, come out 10-5 in the end with a massive gold lead.
And you just can't help but take your hat off when you go for such an execution-heavy comp and pull it off. Not one to copy at home for either teams or individuals. Very risky. Talon stacking damage. A jungler, the Rengar, stacking damage. A couple of armor items comes in for the Olaf and Maokai. The game's even. This comp is the epitome of being outscaled, but they fought and team fought so intelligently. Rewatching that fight where both exhausts are blown by Fly, then there's the committal, then they get into the backline and actually pick up 4 and take Baron. The game was won off one good engagement, one good fight, rather than just Talon running wild, as can happen in solo queues. So Longzhu showing us something new. It's not the champions that Fly was expecting. It wasn't the Aurelion Sol, which didn't go picked in this game. He brings in the Talon, another new pick for this guy who's always looked the best when he's to the right or the left of the meta. Center of the meta, I don't know, maybe not top 3. When he can play his champions, he looks top 3 for sure.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes that does lead him astray. We saw the multiple zillion picks against SK Telecom that cost them the loss in that third final
There's a
game.
time and a place for Fly's champions. He thinks it's all the time. His team disagrees from time to time.
All right, well, this time they were all in agreement over this talent, and it worked off quite well for Longzhu. Go up 1-0 in this best-of-3 over Afreeca Freecs. Whether or not they can close this out with a 2-0 is going to be the question, as if they can do that, again, that puts them in major contention for third place against MVP.
Afreeca don't want to go 0-4 this week, Kilios. Looking like it, though. 3-0 down. They're going to need a much stronger draft, or at least a much stronger identity, because they were outfought by Longzhu Gaming.
Yep. So could just be Afreeca stuck in 7th place, maybe even falling further. They have to get themselves together, gather their thoughts, talk with their coach during our break. We'll have a quick one. When we come back, we'll have Game 2. See if Longzhu can close this out, or if Afreeca will just elongate this series and take us to a third and final game. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back in just a few minutes, guys.